Hi everyone, today you're going to get a super special double upload because I've been missing out on the past devlog. But I hope that doesn't mean that the video will be double the length, because as always I don't have time to edit all of this. So the reason why everything went sideways for the past 2 weeks and why I haven't been on schedule with, well, anything, was because I worked on the weekend. I explained that in the last video that I've been away on Wednesday of week 4 and I tried to catch up on Saturday instead, and this led me to not being able to write the devlog, and then I went off schedule for the past week. Before we get to the statistics, I'm not sure if I can catch up with all the work left in this phase, which is another week, because I'll be back in Hamburg for week 6, which means not 1 week less, but 1 week maybe less efficient time. I'm not sure yet. But I will be taking my laptop with me because I hope that it can handle at least RenPy, and I hope that I'll be able to work more efficiently because I won't have any distractions with me, like I can't play games on my laptop. I won't have driving lessons, which cost 2 hours every day, and I will be living alone, which means no distractions by parents or anything. So I hope that this might work better than what I've been currently doing, but again, I'm just hopeful at the moment. And this is what I did in the past 2 weeks. I continued writing the synopsis for the story. I did a little bit more work in Twine. I did some sketches for the character designs. I talked to some people about the plot onwards. I started working with RenPy and tried to learn the basics. I made placeholders for RenPy and continued implementing the prologue, and I wrote this devlog and edited it basically. So in these 2 weeks, I spent in total 8 hours on project and file management, 6 hours on writing, 7 hours on game art and research, 7 hours on game design, no hours on coding, 8 hours on implementing, 7 hours on social media management, and 24 hours on miscellaneous stuff. Okay, quick note about the no hours on coding. When I refer to coding in my devlogs, I do not mean writing the script in RenPy, because that's implementing. Coding in this case will refer to anything that's not in the basics of what RenPy can do. So it means working with Python, basically. Because RenPy can do a lot of things, which you don't need to code. It's kind of like coding, but if you know coding, it's not the same thing. To code as write, show this character, but anyway, I'm getting off track. Because I will be editing this video on a tight time schedule, I won't be able to show you content from the RenPy prototype yet, but I promise that I show you what I have next week. Also about RenPy, I've decided that I will continue to use it for the development of the game, even if it can't do everything that I need. The reason for that is that I won't have the time to make the RenPy prototype and then implement everything in Unity, because there is no way to take my RenPy script and put it into Unity, which would have been great if there was like a tool for that or something, but there is none from what I've seen, and that means that I have to work with what I can work with, and that means currently RenPy with the basics of what it can do. It's a great engine, and I found myself pleasantly surprised by what it can do without learning Python. But at the same time, it doesn't have the features to make Dead on Arrival what I want it to be. That's not a bad thing, because I still believe that the end product will be good enough. But there are minor cosmetic things like the main menu, parts of the user interface, and some features which I can't, from what I've seen, implement in RenPy without like really getting into Python and coding, which I can't because I can't code for shit. But they would be possible in Unity because there are like tutorials on that and everything. But I found myself asking myself, well, is it worth it to make the RenPy prototype and then basically scrap it and work in Unity? And the answer to that question is no. So maybe someday, if I find someone who can code, I'll make some kind of Dead on Arrival definitive edition, which has all the things I couldn't accomplish just yet. But that's, just dreaming, basically. But let's continue with the topic on hand, which is the statistics. To keep up to date with my current schedule, or the schedule I have planned in the pre-production phase, this is what needs to be done in the next 2 weeks, which is the rest of the second half of the prototype phase. I need to finish the designs for the characters and the backgrounds. I need to finish writing the story and then finish up the asset list, because then I will know what I will need. And I need to finish implementing everything in RenPy, basically. At least with placeholders. This is not like everything needs to be done, but everything needs to be done bare bones, if that makes sense. But because I've been about 1 week and 2 days behind on schedule, I don't think that I will manage to finish all of this. So I tend to consider taking another week for the prototype, just to tie up any loose ends before I get into the alpha. And I know exactly what the problem for staying behind schedule is, and it's a lack of finding balance, if that makes sense. But I mean that I prioritized the wrong things in the past 2 weeks because I had to work on Saturday, and then all things I would have done on Saturday I did on Sunday, and everything I would have done on Sunday I did on Monday, and then I kind of continued procrastinating a little bit, and then I went off schedule, which is not ideal, to say it a little bit carefully. So this cost me precious time I needed for RenPy, because I never worked with it before, so I don't know everything about it. So yeah, everything's like a little bit not working out quite as well as planned. Yeah, sorry if this seems a little bit rushed, hasty, and carelessly done. But that's because, sadly, it's always a hassle when personal or family problems come up because they interfere with work. So the best I can do is try to catch up next week with everything I haven't done yet, and then if everything else fails, try and add another week to the prototype phase. I have mentioned this before, but I have like 2 weeks of like buffer in my pocket, basically, and yeah, I wanted to use them basically when I see that I won't finish the game on time, but as it looks now, I will need to use 1 week now. But if I see by the end of week 7, which is the last week of this phase, of the prototype phase, and if I see that adding 1 week will not be enough, then I won't add this week, if that makes sense, because I'd rather continue working on the game as best as I can, instead of just adding like 6 weeks to the prototype phase and then missing weeks for all the other phases. I hope this makes sense. In my head it makes sense, and it made sense writing it down, and it makes sense now that I'm talking out loud about it. So I hope it makes sense. Also, again, I apologize that this video is so short and so rushed and everything, and I don't have anything to show you, but I promise that I will put a little bit more care, time, dedication, and content into next week's video. Up until then, you can follow me on social media. All links are listed down below. I've been streaming a little bit on Twitch recently, so if you're interested in watching me playing some Code Vein, basically, because that's what I've been playing, you can follow me on Twitter, because I don't have a Twitch schedule yet. So if I announce when I will be live, you will be kept up to date on my Twitter, sometimes on my Instagram, but I can't link my Twitch account on Instagram because I don't have this swipe function yet, because I'm a nano influencer, not even a micro influencer. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye.